Hello, my name's Dorian, and today I'm going to be talking with you all about how being somebody with psychopathy has affected the many friendships I've had over the years, talking from young early ages all the way through to my current adulthood and situation. Let's start from the beginning. So to kick off, I attended nursery from a young age, normally, just like any other kid. I think at that age, vast majority of kids were the same. There was no real warning signs, I guess you'd say. I made friends, I played with kids pretty well. This continued all the way through primary school. In fact, in primary school, I had three best friends. They were called Luke, Harvey, and Tahar. Tahar was from a Muslim family that lived at the very top of my road on where I grew up as a kid. Great family all around as well. Same goes for Luke and Harvey, though they lived a little bit further away. And we pretty much stuck it out together all through primary school, right from year 1 and 2 all the way through to leaving for secondary school. These friendships were definitely some of the most important ones to me, and I do genuinely hope that these three childhood friends of mine are all doing well to this day. I do hear that one of them is an optician of some sort. I may be getting that wrong, but that was just a detail that was told to me several years ago by somebody. During primary school, me and my three main best friends, as well as many other kids that I got along with just fine. It's actually quite difficult for me to remember things from my childhood. I have a lot of what they call childhood amnesia, and it can be very difficult. As I'm recording this, I'm trying to tap into the memories. I can remember the school very well, and I guess at that age, me and in particular my three best friends, at that age it's all about having a laugh, maybe trying to skip class. You're learning swear words at that age, how to talk to girls, and it was all really, it was the good stuff pretty much. I never had fights in primary school, at least not that I remember. I think the first time that I actually physically attacked a child that was my age was not in school, but it was at a holiday camp. I remember the incident fairly well to a degree. I remember more impressions than anything. Me, mum, dad, and younger brother, we got in the car that we had at the time, a little Nissan Micra, and we ended up staying for 3 nights at this camp slash farm place. It was really good. They had all sorts of exotic animals there, peacocks, monkeys, parrots, and there was things for the younger kids to do and attractions, and it was all well and good. And I can't remember the exact reason why I did what I'm about to tell you. So there was this one kid at the farm, and for some reason or another, I really wanted to hurt him. I don't remember his name or really what he looked like. I probably wouldn't recognise him now. I was about 12 at the time I did this, and what had happened was I lured him sort of out of sight, because where everyone had the tents, it was like fields and there was bushes, trees, and there was this gravel pathway leading back all behind this shrubbery. And in one way or another, I convinced him to come with me to go on this gravel pathway. No one could see us, and then I just started attacking him physically very violently. I started kicking him, got him on the floor, and I pulled his t-shirt up over his head so that he couldn't do anything. And once I'd gotten him on the floor, I grabbed a hold of his legs, and we were on this gravel pathway, and with his t-shirt pulled over his head, his bare back was exposed to the gravel path. These rocks, so they're kind of like little rocks that you pick up and they get white dust all over your hands. And 12-year-old me just started dragging this other kid up and down this pathway, and he was screaming. Nobody could hear us at all, so this went on for a reasonable amount of time. I can't remember how long it went on for, but I remember I dragged him back and forth a few times. I think there was something as well with a toy gun, but I can't quite remember if he had one or I had one, or if he had one and I took it. that is a mystery that is yet to be solved. And after I was done hurting this other kid, I'd sort of, I was just done. So I just left him there, and I ran away to join my younger brother and, hung out with him. But I think it was either later that day or the next day. Me, my mother, and I think my younger brother was with us. We were walking around the park, walking around the section where there's all the animals to look at, and it was all right. And this angry dad holding his child by the arm comes storming up to my mother, screaming at her like he's absolutely besides himself. And he points at me, and I think he said something like, look, your son, or he says, which one was it? I think to the kid, he said, which of the lads was it? And this kid who had attacked pointed at me. And so this dad is like, to my mum, he's saying, your son did this to my son. And he made his kid turn around and show my mother his back. And he, honestly, it looked close to like Jesus when he was being whipped and beaten. His back was just covered in bruises, deep cuts, scabs, everything. And he was he was in a state. The kid was crying. And I do remember being stood there, and I was thinking, right, I've just got to deny it. I just denied. Never admitted it to my mother at all, still to this day. But I have a feeling that she knew it was me, but she was just kind of maybe too ashamed to admit it, that sort of thing. So I think the dad at some point, or we heard that maybe they were going to get the police involved. It never happened. I got away with it, and the holiday was finished. But then I remember about a year later, my mum like giving me a talking to, like a telling off, after I'd done a similar thing again to another kid. And she brought it up. She said, oh, what about last year? At first you said you didn't do it with that boy at the farm, and his back was all cut up, and she was like, my mother was choking up in tears just thinking of this thing that had happened a year ago. And the whole time I said, oh, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. I said, I've never seen this kid before, and I just didn't care. It's never, no guilt whatsoever. Absolutely none. I can understand now from a more mature and adult point of view that, that's wrong. And I am a father as well now myself. My son is 5 years old, and if he was to even do half of the stuff that I did when I was younger, I would be absolutely beside myself, and probably getting him straight to the doctor for a psych eval. Yeah, that was the first real warning sign as a child of me maybe not always getting along well with other kids or socialising in a pro-social way. Fast forward, secondary school, again, so after primary school, only one of my best friends came with me. Two of them went separate ways. It was Harvey who came with me. And me and Harvey, we were as thick as thieves, always laughing. But he was very well behaved, whereas I was on the opposite end of that spectrum. So bit of a weird combination, kind of chalk and cheese, but it was great work nonetheless. I never had any problems with Harvey. I always liked him. I always respected him. Always told him the truth as well. That was great. But mixing with other kids, there was some that sort of joined us, and we formed a little group towards the end in the last couple of years, and they were great as well. But there was one time with one friend when I was 15. I was in Spanish class. I remember I was in Spanish class, and my mate Jacob, he was sat in front of me, and he had said something to me which really wound me up and made me angry, and it like insulted me, and I can't even remember what it was. It was probably just the slightest thing. He might have even just been joking, but it brought about this rage, and I picked up this pair of scissors, and these are only craft scissors. They've got like the very round tip, but I just jabbed him straight between his shoulder blades in the middle of the class. he like jumped out of his seat and screamed. He went, "Ow!" And he turned around and went, "What's wrong with you?" Right before people were starting to look, I just threw the scissors away, or I think I put them in my pocket or something, but I got them away out of sight. And I was just like, "What? I didn't do anything. What are you, I just gave him and the teacher who was there this bemused, bewildered look, as if to say, I don't know what he's on about. I haven't stabbed anyone." And amazingly enough, I got away with it. Don't hold any malice towards Jacob now. Again, like I said, I was still young. My brain was clearly developing and not in a normal way. There was one bad fight that did land me in quite a bit of trouble. But the upshot of it wasn't very great, and I'll give you the story now of that. So I was 15 years old. I was 15 years old, I think, or 16 possibly. I was coming towards the end of secondary school, so I was made up. And this kid, for a couple of weeks, he's been making fun of me, making fun of my name, and just petty little jibes as schoolboys do. And it's gone on for a couple of weeks, and one day he's come up behind me. He's crumbled a cookie in my hair. I used to have like big, thick hair, kind of like I do now a bit, but like even longer. And he's crumbled a cookie or a biscuit into it. Like I was talking to my mate, and I felt something in my hair. I thought it was raining at first, but then I turned around and I saw that it was this smug little arrogant kid. And he wasn't little actually. He was bigger than me. But it was this cheeky kid who had been, shouting things at me and stuff for the last couple of weeks, and now he's crumbling food in my hair in front of everyone. So with my left hand, I grabbed him very firmly, iron grip, and with my right hand, I just started beating him, and I just beat him over and over again, and I was sort of walking him backwards, and I don't know what the goal was. I was just so full of adrenaline and rage. A couple of friends of mine at the time tried to step in. They thought it was that I was taking it too far. I ended up turning around and saying to them, if you touch me, I'm going to get you as well. And so they backed off. Eventually, the teachers saw what was happening. Teachers have come in. There's a crowd that's formed. They've split us up. They've dragged me away into one building. They've got him into another. And I was sent home from school that day, and I ended up getting an exclusion for 1 week. I had to stay at home for a week, which to me wasn't a punishment, because I hated school overall. I hated the teachers. I hated the regime, the work, always being told what to do. So me being excluded from school was just paradise. I think if I remember right, I stayed at home. I think I just watched movies, to be honest, and relaxed. I tried playing Xbox. I vividly remember this. I tried playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 at the time, but my right hand was so damaged from punching this kid that I just couldn't move the buttons without being in absolute agony. So I just had my hand in a thing of frozen peas for a bit, for a day or two, and more or less got back to normal. But after the fight, as you can see, I can't raise this little finger to the same level as this one. I can do it with this one, but that one there is that's damaged from all the fighting, all the punching over the years. But so yeah, it's a fun little fact. Moving forward, as a late teenager, young adult, my friendships started to become more parasitic, so to speak. From the age of 15, I was involved in drugs, alcohol. I was a petty thief, liar. I would say more or less anything to anyone, just to have a bit of what they had. And even my best friends, who I genuinely did care about and have, I think, some a connection with. But yeah, it very much became a sort of a parasitic type of lifestyle. I didn't see it that way at the time. I thought, you have friends around you because you want something, and they have it, like whether it's like attention, money, drugs, maybe even like sex, friends with benefits. That to me was friendship, was me getting what I wanted from somebody else. And you know, that's why friendships never really worked out well for me, because you know that isn't friendship. I have some online friends as well. I have a friend in the States called Jamie. A lot of you will know her as Emmy Thomas. Talking with her has made me realise that I really can have healthy friendships now. So meeting her, talking with her, spending time with her on holiday together, that really was a turning point in my psyche. One of the reasons that I've decided to go to university is to become better at being friends with people. I wouldn't say I have any real friends yet there, but you know, I'm very well received. Liked by everyone in my class. I'm intelligent, I'm confident, I have a great sense of humour. You know, there isn't anyone in my class who I haven't made laugh yet. And that goes for the teachers, the staff as well. But yeah, friendships, it's still a funny thing to think about for me now, but I definitely didn't have a good grip on them overall. The one thing as well with me is that I completely lack trust. So I have no ability to place trust in somebody, you know. And I remember talking to, it was my probation officer who was a prison psychologist, and we talked about trust, and he was asking me and trying to gauge me about this, and I said I've never actually felt deep trust in somebody. It kind of falls under the same umbrella as things like guilt and remorse. You know, I just don't have an emotional concept of them. I can't really describe them literally. But trust, to me, the way I view it, it's like giving somebody like your brain, and you're putting it in a box and then saying, here, will you hold on to this for me? And what's the point? Why shouldn't I just look after myself and do things the way that I see fit, and not put myself in a vulnerable position to begin with? Because trust, to me, is vulnerability, and there's no real other way to describe it. Well, that's all for me. That was a big one. I'm not doing scripts with these at the moment. I mean, I used to. I have a big script right here. This is a 4-pager that I've written for another video, by the way. Whether it will be a video or not is another story. But yeah, I'm sort of, with this one, I've just gone entirely off the top of the dome. I'm kind of liking doing it this way, actually. It's fun, it's interesting. I think it makes me more honest with you guys, definitely. And you know, sharing that story about when I essentially tortured that other kid when I was 12, a young teenager. That's not something that I've ever really shared ever with anyone. But it's good that I've had the help that I've received. Final update, I've been referred for cognitive behavioural therapy through my university, so I might be starting therapy soon. That's all from me for today, so make sure you don't forget to like the video, comment below, let me know what you think. I have been reading all your comments. They're really good, but I think what I want to do is I need to learn a little bit more editing skills, and I want to do a comments reaction video, but I want to get a few really good ones. So always let me know what you think down there if you want to be featured in that, because it will be happening. Well, that's all for now. Take care, and arrivederci.